Welcome back to this series on the Wheel of Emotions. My name's Annie Henderson. I'm a life coach here in North Texas, and I'm so glad you're joining us. If you haven't watched the previous episodes of this series, go back and dig into the video about sad and all the words that go with it, fear, anger. And today we'll be talking and diving into disgust. So just like the other videos, instead of being limited with our word choice with just a few, we get to elaborate and intentionally choose words that help us describe what we actually mean, what is actually bothering us. Because sometimes sad doesn't exactly express powerless or empty. So sometimes we need better words to describe how we're feeling. So, disgust. Notice instantly the intensity level that comes up. Disgust for me is a pretty intense word. That is disgusting. Instead of, I don't like that, I don't prefer it, that is disgusting. You are disgusting. Notice what comes up for you, where in your body you feel that word disgust. And if there's somebody or a situation that comes to mind like that, notice it. Jot it down somewhere around you, right? Hit pause if you need to process for a little bit what's coming up with that word. And of course, if you are needing to dive into this whole series or this section specifically, go to my site, anniemhenderson.com, and sign up for a coaching call. But notice where in your body you feel disgust. There's no right or wrong. It might be in your heart. It might be in your throat. It could be in your head. It could be the back of your neck. There's no right or wrong. Just start to be aware of your body and notice, because your body will speak to you. Emotions are usually attached to a feeling, so notice what is coming up for you and feel free to share in the comments. So instead of disgust, the word disapproval might be more accurate for whatever you're experiencing. Notice the huge difference between disapproval, which sounds almost like a work scenario, like this wasn't approved. Or maybe you're feeling disapproval with family members and your choice of where you go to school, who you love, where you go to church, whatever it is. But notice just the huge difference between the feeling of disgust and the feeling of disapproval. In my People Pleasers group, which you are all invited to over on Facebook, it's a free group, we were talking about some of these this morning. We were talking about this next one, and we'll come back to these, but disappointed. And noticing the feeling of disappointed, for me, sounds like something that is shifted generationally. So how our parents and our grandparents might have used the word disappointment. And I believe someone on the call mentioned with some guilt. And I'll add in some shame along with it. So notice, what's your intention? When you choose to use words like this, is it meant to cut? Is it meant to express? Are you just using it because someone else around you uses that word? Is it a word that you enjoy using? Or is there another word that you would like to try out to better express yourself? Okay, so going back up here to disapproval, we can narrow down also, it could go into judgmental. Am I feeling judgmental? Am I feeling judged by others? And notice that feeling. When is a time you felt judged? When is a time now, maybe, that you feel judgmental of others? Instead of disapproval, loathing. And I have a soundbite for you that my brain instantly goes to. Let me know if you recognize it.
I'd bark in, Apocalypse who? I hate you! Aaron B. Benson who? I hate you. Hate, 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 hate. Double hate. Loathe entirely.
Did you recognize Jim Carrey's The Grinch? So this word is loathing. You could even hear it in his voice when he shifted from hate to loathe entirely. So what is something that you loathe? You might be getting some new words to try out. But again, notice the intensity and make sure it matches the situation that you're wanting to use these words, whether it's describing yourself or someone else. Choose wisely, because the words we choose to use can exacerbate a situation. It can escalate something that doesn't need to be. So it's important to realize when talking to children, right? We obviously, a lot of us had the word disappointed used frequently, to where that might be a word we really avoid or that we're really sensitive to. So be aware. So going along with disappointed, even more granular, is repugnant. Some of you might not be so aware of this word. It's not one that's commonly used, repugnant, but I will read you the definition. Extremely distasteful, unacceptable. Whew. Close your eyes for just a moment and see where that heads you. And it might not be the repugnant, but it might be the synonym, unacceptable. Have you heard those words spoken about you, or have you used them before? Revolted. So notice, disappointed, repugnant, revolted. And depending on how these words might have been used towards you or against you, might be which ones that you like more than others, which ones you would go to. So like disapprove, I feel like that is less intense than loathing. But disappointed also, I feel like that's less intense than repugnant or revolted. So see how these hit you and just continue to expand your vocabulary. Next, so there's disgust, there's awful. Ugh, that's awful. You could be talking about a food. You could be talking about a situation that someone just expressed to you and you're like, oh, that's awful. I'm so sorry to hear that. So all of these words, depending on the body language, the tone of voice, they can all be received differently. But also further on from awful is revulsion and detestable. Whew. So these are getting more specific, and for me personally, more intense. And finally, we have avoidance. So sometimes when we feel disgusted, we are avoiding something, whether it's avoiding a scene, avoiding watching the news, avoiding certain people, conversations, situations, noticing if there's some avoidance going on. Aversion or hesitant, right? So maybe there's avoidance and we're just a little hesitant, which is different than an aversion, right? An aversion is something bigger, to where we are steering clear of all of that, what's going on, versus, oh, I'm hesitant to talk about this, or I'm hesitant to walk into this meeting today. So that was it for Disgust. What did you think? What spoke to you? What brought memories flooding back? And notice, take some time after this. One, to comment, let me know what stuck out to you. And another one, to journal. What was coming up? Which of these words maybe do you need to use to describe something more specifically, maybe when you're in an argument or you're needing to explain yourself more accurately? Which of these words does the job? Which ones possibly escalate that situation? I hope you've been enjoying this Wheel of Emotions series. We will be back next week for the last 2. You'll have to come back and join us to see which ones. Check out the ones before. We've already done fear, anger, and sad. Check them out if you haven't yet. I hope you have the most amazing day. Be intentional with your words, and come and join us over on TikTok at 3 p.m. Central if you want to continue the conversation this week on Disgust. See you there.